Most people would look at this card and assume the romance is fading. But that is not what this symbolism is showing. The Knight of Cups reversed represents someone whose feelings have become so real that they no longer know how to express them without losing control. And once you understand what they are imagining behind closed doors, their confusing behavior begins to make sense. Hey, beautiful soul, welcome back. Take only what connects with your situation, because this is a collective psychological reading rather than a fixed prediction. Now look closely at this card. The cup is still in their hands. The emotion has not disappeared, but because the card is reversed, everything they want to say is being turned inward. This person may send a normal message, disappear for several hours, and then return as though nothing happened. Meanwhile, their mind has already placed you inside their home. Not for one exciting evening. They are imagining what it would feel like to come home and know you are there every day. Something very specific is coming through. They picture opening the front door and seeing your shoes beside theirs. Your charger is plugged into the wall. Your favorite drink is waiting in the refrigerator. There are 2 mugs near the coffee machine instead of 1. These details may sound small, but psychologically, they reveal something much bigger. They are no longer fantasizing only about attraction. They are imagining integration. Your habits blending into theirs until being together feels natural. But here is what makes this complicated. The Knight of Cups reversed can symbolize fear of emotional exposure. This person may worry that you will discover how far ahead their imagination has gone. So they hold back. They may joke instead of confessing. They may delay an invitation they desperately want to make. They may even become quieter after a deeply connected moment because it suddenly feels too serious. There is also one domestic scene they keep replaying, and it is not the scene you might expect. It involves a quiet evening, something warm being prepared in the kitchen, and a moment when neither of you needs to speak. That scene matters because it is when this person privately realizes they do not simply want your attention. They want your presence. They want the peaceful version of you. The person who is tired, comfortable, unfiltered, and no longer performing for the outside world. And the next card will reveal exactly which daily routine made them begin imagining you as a real partner. The High Priestess appears here. And this is important because she does not represent a loud declaration. She represents the quiet patterns that reveal what someone already knows inside. Look at the space between the 2 pillars. This is the private world they are imagining with you. A world where the connection does not need to be performed every minute in order to feel real. The daily routine coming through is surprisingly simple. It is the end-of-day question. What do you want to eat? Not a formal dinner, not an impressive date. They imagine both of you standing in the kitchen after a long day, opening cabinets, checking what is available, and deciding together whether to cook something or order in. One of you is tired. The other is distracted. There may be a pan heating on the stove, a cabinet door left open, and the quiet sound of someone moving around in another room. And somehow, that ordinary moment feels deeply intimate to them. Because in their imagination, you are no longer asking whether you will see each other. You are already there. The only question is what the 2 of you are doing with the evening. The High Priestess can symbolize an understanding that exists before it is spoken. This person may already sense what you would choose. They remember the foods you avoid, the way you like something prepared, the snack you reach for when you are stressed. They may mentally rehearse small acts of care without realizing how relationship-like those thoughts have become. They picture placing a plate beside you while you finish something. They imagine you tasting what they made and giving an honest reaction. They even imagine the quiet disagreement about what to order when neither of you wants to decide. And that is where the fantasy changed. It was not the idea of impressing you. It was the idea of making life with you feel easier, warmer, less lonely. But the High Priestess also keeps certain truths behind the veil. So in real life, this person may hide the meaning behind a casual tone. They may mention a meal they cooked and then quickly change the subject. They may ask what you usually eat after work, as though the question means nothing. They may joke that you are difficult to feed or say they already know what you would order. But listen closely, because one question they have asked, or may ask very soon, is not really about food. When they ask, "Are you someone who likes cooking together, or do you prefer doing your own thing?" they are quietly trying to understand something much bigger. They want to know whether everyday closeness with you would feel natural. And they are watching your answer more carefully than they let you see. The devil appears next. And before you assume this means something negative, look at what the symbolism is actually showing. The chain between these two figures represents attachment, not necessarily control. In this reading, it represents a mind that keeps returning to the same questions, because the answers matter more than this person wants to admit. They may ask what time you normally wake up. The question sounds casual, but internally, they are imagining whether you would reach for your phone immediately, whether you need quiet in the morning, and whether one of you would naturally begin the coffee while the other gets ready. Then they may ask what you usually do on Sundays. Again, it sounds harmless, but they are listening for the shape of your life. Do you stay home and reset for the week? Do you run errands early? Do you need plans, or do you prefer a slow day with nowhere to be? This person is not only collecting facts about you. They are placing those facts beside their own habits and quietly asking whether the two could exist in the same home. The devil can symbolize repetition, a thought that returns, a scenario that becomes difficult to stop replaying. So they may also joke about clutter. They might ask whether you leave things everywhere, whether you need everything organized, or whether you would become annoyed by someone who never puts things back in the right place. Outwardly, they are teasing. Inside, they are calculating. Not because they expect you to fit perfectly into their life. Something deeper is happening. They are beginning to imagine changing their own routines for you. If they normally keep the television on for background noise, they picture turning it down because you need quiet. If they stay awake too late, they imagine going to bed earlier because they know you have to be up in the morning. They may even picture moving something they have always kept in one place simply because that space would work better for you. That is the part they are least likely to admit. Because attraction asks, "Do I want this person?" Partnership asks, "Am I willing to adjust?" And psychologically, that second question carries much more weight. But there is one compatibility test that matters more to them than waking times, Sunday routines, or household habits. It is what happens when one of you becomes emotionally overwhelmed. Because this person has already imagined a moment when the conversation stops, the room becomes quiet, and one of you can no longer pretend everything is fine. And in that private scene, they already know exactly what they want to do. The Three of Pentacles reversed appears here. And this card reveals why that private scene feels so important. Upright, the Three of Pentacles is about working together. Reversed, it can show someone who does not know how to ask for support, even when they desperately want it. This person imagines coming home after a difficult day and saying almost nothing. Their voice sounds slightly different. Their keys land on the counter harder than usual. They sit down without turning on the television, and the food in front of them remains untouched. In their imagination, you notice, but you do not force them to explain. You do not ask the same question 5 different ways. You simply remain close enough for them to understand that they are not alone. And that is the moment they keep replaying. Not because they want you to fix everything. They want to know what it feels like to be understood, before they have found the words. Psychologically, that can feel more intimate than hearing someone say, "I love you." A romantic declaration is beautiful, but being recognized in silence requires a different kind of closeness. They imagine you lowering the volume in the room, moving something aside so they can sit comfortably, placing water nearby without making a big moment out of it. And then the scene changes. Because they have also imagined doing this for you, they notice you answering more quietly than usual. They see you standing in the kitchen without actually preparing anything. They recognize the way you become still when your mind is carrying too much. So they warm something for you. They lower the lights. They protect your silence from unnecessary questions. Maybe they sit at the other end of the couch, giving you space while making it clear they are not leaving. This is what the Three of Pentacles reversed is exposing. They want emotional teamwork, but they may not know how to build it in real life. The safer this imagined bond becomes, the more frightening it feels to them, because safety creates something worth losing. That is why they may pull away after a vulnerable conversation. They may become distant after you understand them too well. Their nervous system may interpret emotional importance as danger, even when nothing has gone wrong. But their distance is not the biggest contradiction in this reading. The bigger contradiction is that while they hesitate to claim the relationship, they are already becoming protective of a future that does not officially exist. The Queen of Wands reversed appears here. And this card can reveal what happens when confidence becomes uncertainty. Upright, the Queen of Wands knows where she stands. Reversed, she may begin watching for signs that her place is no longer secure. That is the energy surrounding this person. They may ask who you were with, but make the question sound casual. They may become quieter after you mention someone new. Or they may suddenly increase contact after realizing you have been busy living a life they were not part of. Not because they own your time. They do not. But internally, they have already imagined themselves occupying a very specific place beside you. And when reality reminds them that the place has never been officially claimed, something in them becomes unsettled. They may remember when you said you had an appointment. They may notice that your schedule changed. They may joke that someone else is receiving all your attention, then laugh quickly so you do not hear the seriousness beneath it. The Queen of Wands reversed can symbolize a person comparing the future they want with the reality they currently have. In the future they imagine, you check in while running errands. You send them a photo from the store and ask which one they prefer. You coordinate what time you will both be home. You save a place for each other without needing to ask. You make small household decisions together because both of you are affected by the answer. These are ordinary couple things, but to this person, they represent belonging. The problem is that they may want the reassurance of commitment before they have offered the clarity that creates it. So instead of saying, "I want to be included," they may ask why you did not mention your plans. Instead of admitting that they missed you, they may make a joke about being replaced. Take only what connects here, because genuine longing is not the same as controlling behavior. Longing says, "I hope there is room for me." Control says, "You are not allowed to choose." This reading is showing someone who may be struggling with the first feeling while trying not to reveal it. But their strongest reaction is not caused by obvious romantic competition. It happens when they notice something quieter. You make a decision without consulting them. You build a new routine. You become more comfortable in your own life. And suddenly, they realize you are creating a future that may continue perfectly well without them in it. The Six of Cups reversed appears here. And this card shows what happens when someone realizes the past cannot remain open forever. Upright, the Six of Cups can represent familiarity. A connection that feels safe because it has always been there. Reversed, It can reveal the moment when one person begins moving forward instead of waiting inside the same emotional pattern. That is what unsettles them. They notice that you are becoming more settled in yourself. You protect your time differently now. You do not rearrange your entire day around an uncertain message. You make plans without leaving an empty space in case they decide to appear. Maybe you have changed something inside your home. A room looks different. A corner has been organized. Something old has been removed because it no longer fits the life you are creating. To someone else, these details may seem unrelated to romance. But this person sees movement. They see you building stability without asking them to provide it. And that is both attractive and frightening, because your independence is part of what makes them imagine a life with you. They admire the way you handle things, the way you create comfort, the way you can be peaceful without needing constant reassurance. But that same strength reminds them that you do not have to wait. The Six of Cups reversed can symbolize outgrowing an old expectation. This person may have assumed the emotional door would remain open, not because you promised that, but because the connection felt familiar enough that they believed there would always be more time. Now they are beginning to question that belief, and their domestic imagination becomes even more specific. They picture helping you choose something for your space. They imagine a weekend trip to pick up household items, followed by both of you carrying bags inside and deciding where everything should go. They see themselves cooking while you put things away. They imagine offering an opinion, then realizing your decision affects them because they are no longer picturing themselves as a visitor. They want to become part of the calm you are already creating, but this does not necessarily push them toward a dramatic confession. It may create a smaller movement first, something practical, something that gives them a reason to enter your routine without naming the emotional meaning behind it. They may offer to help with something you could easily handle alone. They may ask you to come with them while they run an ordinary errand. Or they may create a reason for you to spend time inside their home when nothing exciting is planned. And the exact wording of that invitation will reveal whether they are still seeking occasional closeness or quietly trying to make you part of their everyday life. The Eight of Swords reversed appears here, and this card shows someone searching for a way out of their own hesitation. Upright, the Eight of Swords can represent feeling trapped by fear. Reversed, it can show the first small action that loosens that fear without requiring a complete emotional confession. This person may invite you into something ordinary, not a formal date, not an evening designed to impress you. They may simply say, "Come with me. I need to pick up a few things." The errand itself is not the important part. What matters is that they are imagining how it would feel to move through normal life beside you. They picture both of you walking through a store, commenting on things neither of you planned to buy. They ask which item you prefer. They remember your answer. Maybe they place something in the cart because you mentioned liking it, then act as though the decision was casual. Afterward, they may bring you back to their home. There are bags on the counter. Something is cooking. The room is not perfectly prepared because they are no longer trying to show you only the polished version of their life. And then they say something small. "I made extra," or "You can just leave that here." The sentence sounds practical, but psychologically, it is doing something much bigger. It allows them to behave like a partner before they have found the courage to name the relationship. Practical closeness feels safer to this person than emotional language. They can offer you food. They can ask for your opinion. They can make space beside them. They can create a reason for you to return. What they struggle to say is why any of it matters. The Eight of Swords reversed suggests they are testing whether real closeness can happen without everything immediately becoming overwhelming. They want to know whether you can enter their routine gently, whether the evening can feel natural, whether silence can remain comfortable after the errands are finished, and there is nothing left to distract either of you. But here is the complication. If you respond warmly, they may become nervous. They may seem slightly distant the next day. They may take longer to message, or act as though the invitation meant less than it did. Not because they regret your presence, because the moment confirmed something. The future they have been imagining is no longer completely imaginary. And the next card exposes what they truly mean when they stop treating your belongings like temporary objects and begin creating a permanent place for them inside their home. The King of Cups reversed appears here, and this card reveals why creating space for you feels more exposing than saying something romantic. Upright, the King of Cups can hold deep emotion without being controlled by it. Reversed, those feelings remain powerful, but they are kept hidden beneath practical behavior. So instead of saying, "I want you to belong here," this person may clear part of a drawer. They may move their own things to one side. They may leave your personal item exactly where you placed it instead of handing it back before you leave. At first, it looks accidental, but then it remains there. A preferred snack begins appearing regularly. A blanket stays near the place where you usually sit. There is space in the closet that was not there before. They may even consider giving you a key, then hesitate because they understand what that gesture would admit. These details are not really about storage. Psychologically, space inside the home can represent space inside a person's identity. They are no longer imagining how you would visit. They are imagining how you would belong. And something subtle begins changing in their internal language. They think about what the two of you need for the evening, what should be picked up on the way home, whether there is enough for both of you. They may still say "my place" out loud, but inside, the thought is becoming "our space." That is what makes this serious. Because the fantasy does not include only comfort. They imagine responsibilities too. A utility bill left on the counter. Someone forgetting to take out the trash. A tired morning when neither of you feels affectionate. A disagreement about plans. Laundry waiting to be folded while both of you avoid looking at it. And somehow those imperfect details do not ruin the image. They make it feel more real. This person is not only imagining the exciting version of partnership, they are imagining the ordinary work of remaining connected when the mood is not perfect. The King of Cups reversed shows why they may still hide this. Their deepest fear is not that everyday life with you would become boring. It is that it would feel so natural they could no longer pretend the connection is casual. Because once your things have a place, your absence becomes visible. The empty side of the drawer means something. The untouched snack means something. The quiet room begins to feel different when you are not in it. And there is one private moment when all of this becomes emotionally undeniable. It is the moment something happens, good or bad, and their mind does not picture telling just anyone. It goes directly to you. The Five of Swords appears here. And this card reveals the moment their defenses stop feeling like protection. The image shows one figure holding several swords while others remain at a distance. Psychologically, this can represent the cost of always needing to stay guarded. The person may appear composed after a difficult day. They handle the conversation. They solve the problem. They tell themselves they are fine. But when the room becomes quiet, their first instinct is not to celebrate alone or carry the frustration by themselves. Their mind goes directly to you. They imagine opening their phone and seeing your name. They picture hearing your voice before they have organized the story. Or they imagine coming through the door and finding you there, close enough to notice that something has changed. Maybe they place their bag down and stand in the kitchen for a moment longer than necessary. You look at them, they look back, and neither of you needs to pretend. That is where the idea of home changes in this reading. Home is not only a building, it is the person before whom they do not have to win. They do not have to produce the perfect explanation. They do not have to defend every feeling or make themselves look unaffected. They can simply return. This is why their imagination has moved beyond attraction. They picture morning messages that are no longer strategic, shared decisions that seem too small to mention to anyone else, a hand resting briefly against your back while one of you passes through the kitchen, laughter while a simple chore takes twice as long as it should, one person remembering what the other forgot, a disagreement that does not become an ending, a quiet repair later when the tension has softened and both of you are ready to come closer again. These are the couple things they keep imagining. Not constant excitement, repeated return. The Five of Swords can reveal someone who has learned to protect themselves by withdrawing, staying emotionally ahead, or leaving before they can feel rejected. But in the life they imagine with you, those strategies begin to feel lonely, because winning the emotional distance would mean losing the closeness they actually want. Still, private recognition does not automatically create public readiness. Someone can know where they want to return and still be afraid to walk through the door honestly. So the final question is not whether they have imagined this life. The cards have already shown how specific that imagination has become. The real question is what must change inside them before they stop protecting the fantasy and begin making an honest choice. The Page of Swords reversed appears here, and this card answers the question clearly. What must change is the way this person communicates. Upright, the Page of Swords is curious, alert, and willing to ask direct questions. Reversed, that curiosity can remain hidden behind watching, guessing, overthinking, and indirect behavior. This person may know more about what they want than they admit. They may notice every change in your tone. They may replay conversations. They may study your reactions and search for reassurance inside small details. But observation is not the same as honesty. And imagining a shared life is not the same as choosing one. The essential shift is simple, even if it feels frightening to them. They must stop privately rehearsing the relationship and begin participating in it openly. That means consistency, not one meaningful evening followed by silence. It means making a direct invitation and following through. It means creating real time for you instead of hoping you remain available whenever they feel brave enough to reach out. It may sound like, "I want to see you this weekend," or "I have been thinking about what this connection could become," or even, "I know I have been unclear and I do not want to keep communicating that way." These words do not need to be perfect. They need to be honest. The Page of Swords reversed can show someone who is afraid that clarity will remove their control. Because once they tell you what they want, you are free to respond. You may say yes. You may ask for more consistency. You may need time. And mature movement means allowing you that freedom. This brings us back to the Knight of Cups reversed. The cup is still in their hands. The feelings may be real. The imagined home may be detailed. They may genuinely picture quiet evenings, shared errands, familiar routines, ordinary affection, and the comfort of knowing you are there. But the meaning of those feelings depends on what they do with them. Beautiful soul, do not build an entire shared home alone inside your imagination. And do not accept confusion as proof that someone secretly cares. Take only what connects. There is emotional beauty here because this person may see you as more than excitement. They may see comfort, partnership, a peaceful life that includes both closeness and responsibility. But you deserve more than being privately imagined. You deserve to be openly included. Because the real difference between a fantasy and a relationship is not how deeply someone feels behind closed doors. It is whether they make a clear, consistent place for you when the door is open.